sometimes I feel like I'm not a very good employee. She is a Virgo, so I really need this energy. And
My husband is a Virgo.
my husband is Libra, which is also very helpful and very organized.
I like making reels.
Watching her reels, so don't blame on me. I'm the one who is editing it, so if you don't like editing, that's
But my husband would switch to like a monster. I'm never gonna have this in my life. I'm never gonna work with my husband.
Universe Unleashed here. So you guys are watching or listening to a show where our mission is to embrace self-care and personal growth. Through transformative conversation, insights, and experiences, we embark on a journey of self-development. My name is Katrina.
And my name is Daria.
And today we have a beautiful and amazing immigration consultant, self-made businesswoman who works side by side with her husband, Albina.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Albina, so the topic for today for our podcast would be self-employment journey, working with partners, and like the hottest topic of today is working with your husband. So Albina, tell us, how did you enter this self-employment journey? Because what we know from your story, it was very unexpected and right away from school.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm so excited. I just love podcasts and I'm just so excited you guys are doing this. As for self-employment, I honestly don't know the other way around it. So this was pretty natural to me. I came to Canada almost 10 years ago, and this was actually quite a moment to even validate and prove that, yes, that's the moment to start doing something on my own, because now I'm an immigrant. Before I would work somewhere just for maybe 6 months, no more than that. All the time, I would just find myself coming back to the idea that I should be doing something of my own. I have to say that I'm pretty like risk averse in this sense, because all I'm doing is what I've seen growing up because of my family and my parents' business. I just saw this growing up and actually learned some of the maybe strong beliefs that you can do things, just start and do it. And you can provide a service with a very minimal capital, with very minimal investment. You can have it all. You can have a family and a business and multiple businesses and all that, because of my mom and her kind of multiple roles and juggling it all at the same time. So so it was not a very huge transition to me from like 9 to 5 to necessarily working on my own. But at the same time, society tells us there are some right things or wrong. And as women, girls, I was like, oh, looks like everybody's going in one direction and I'm going completely the other. Actually, just yesterday, 2 days ago, I was thinking, hey, what should I talk about next? I don't know, in my blog or in my something. And the topic comes up a lot is FOMO, which is not new. It's not really old either. It's not a new topic, but I clearly remember coming back home to my friends after already living in Canada for maybe 3-4 years. And they would be just so excited for me, saying, hey, you did it at the right moment. You did it at the right time. So self-employment, I think, or opening a business, starting business, it's also a great thing to do in the right time, in the right place. So I guess I started when I had nothing to lose. I didn't have much to invest. Now I'm an immigration consultant, and it is fascinating how easy it is to rebrand yourself. I was so scared to start talking about the fact that I'm an immigration consultant. In fact, I probably started talking about it probably 6-7 months after I actually got a license and I started a corporation and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's so hard to transition. Like for 5 years, I've been education consultant. I've been like it's education agency for anybody who would like to study abroad. And I did many different countries and then just kind of narrow down to Canada, and then naturally saw that I would rather be immigration consultant.
Because you need to get those students stay in Canada. So.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm actually a lawyer. Like my background is law, and I was like, hey, I want to kind of combine it all. It was such a thing in my head to kind of like, how am I going to approach this? But then just doing it was actually such a easy, like you feel like there's a wall, but I actually just had to like step it.
Yeah, it wasn't a wall actually. Yeah.
And that's it. And also have a clarity of self-presentation and really delivering value and all that. So it's a long answer to this question, but overall it's been always like this. I've always
Mhm.
known that I will work for myself, and probably sometimes I feel like I'm not a very good employee. To be very entirely honest, like I don't really like systems and like limits, and what I don't like is a lot of BS. So that right now is a little bit of a revelation. Like if there is a meeting that could be an email, or there is a meeting that it could
Oh
be
yeah, I know that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
just a gist of it, and we really the valuable points are 3 5 minutes, but we're talking for 50 minutes. This something that I haven't like made my peace with yet.
So did you start so in college you already knew that because it was so natural because of your mom to actually go into self-employment right away. Did you start with your husband right away, like with your partner, or you were like I'm doing it alone and then he came into the picture
Mm.
and you decided to do it together?
He came in much later.
Oh, okay.
This was also quite a interesting learning because he was been always supportive, and that's how we actually started actually talking. Like I remember one of the first dates, I would be like, "What's your business plan?" We are in the business school. And he was like, "Okay." He's been always supportive, but actually starting to be equal partners was quite a transition because of many expectations, which I would be like, hey, I expect him to think in a certain, like, about the same things, to worry about the same problems as they are in my head. But in fact, he would be taking care of something completely different. My husband is originally from Venezuela, and we met here in Toronto on the first day of college. So I came to study, and we became friends. Well, I wanted to friend zone him, to be specific, but he was like, no, I like you. And so kind of my relationship with my husband kind of started almost right away since I came here. And he knew all the time that I would be doing something, and he's been really supportive. But the switch was actually for me understanding that I am responsible for my part, and he will never really be really exactly equal to me. But because we have some language barrier and some cultural barriers in relationship, it helped to actually communicate so much, sometimes
Mhm.
even over communicate, that in business or in life, it's I feel like we never talk enough, but
Mhm.
this was quite a moment to talk and understand
Mhm.
that hey, now we are full partners. However, everyone is uniquely different, and this kind of expectation of each other has to be always in check.
Did you write down like list of responsibilities and you spread it out, or how did you work around that?
Yeah, I wish it was like so beautiful
Okay.
like this. Yes, I love all the lists and stuff. It was still pretty organic. Since we were in college and school together, we worked as a team on
Projects.
group projects and
Yeah.
stuff. So there were a few things that it was clear who's the strength
Okay.
and weaknesses of each of us. And we actually, yeah, I guess we did not really write it down. We actually should.
Mhm.
But now I'm thinking about it, like, let me take some notes. Because this business is mainly like an expert business, I got a education, I got a immigration license, or I would be also the person talking to clients and really being forward. And he
Mhm.
would be operations and like a
Mhm.
back end and accounting and much paperwork. So together we actually make things happen so much easier, so much in flow,
Mhm.
understanding each other. I imagine with your partners, with the people that you're so tight, you get each other with just look of an eye. Like
Mhm.
you can communicate. We never clearly defined it
Mhm.
yet because it's also flowing and changing. And I would say we actually just starting out. So even
Okay.
though my company exists for 3 years on immigration side, but every day feels like, hey, we're just redoing things.
Uh-huh.
We have a full time worker right now here in Toronto, and one girl, she works remotely. She's in Germany. Every time something happens, we have to kind of redo the responsibilities.
Restructure.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like still new for you. You also mentioned in our conversation before that you're working from home now,
Oh, I'm working
and
from
it was pretty recent, and both of you work from home.
well, no, I've dreamt about working from home. Once achieving that state, I was like, hey, this is great, but I need some separation
Mm-hmm.
from, work and life. And we got an office that was 5 minutes walk from home.
Okay.
It was literally my highlight of the day that I was like, oh, I'm walking to the office. This is such a nice street, and like walking back. It was really beautiful. And in December, we like stopped that and just work from home now. But it's also family business now because my husband's sister is the one that works
The
with us,
full-time
a
worker.
full-time worker now, which is also tricky and new for me because I was like, hey, maybe, yeah, we'll see if we can work together. We'll see how it works out. But she's fantastic. So I'm like, I want you to stay, actually. She is a Virgo. So I really need this energy in
I like
my.
Virgos. My husband is a Virgo.
My husband is Libra, which is
Okay.
also very helpful and very organized. That's why we kind of work from our home and then from her home. So we go
Okay.
back and forth. And for now, it works. I really would like to have an office, but I love this opportunity of being fluid and really check in every time, like what works for us, what doesn't work for us now.
Let's pause here. Do you see this? This is a 10-second timer for you to subscribe and push that like button. Thank you so much. We will not continue until you put that like button. And please subscribe. We're a small channel, so we need your help. Thank you so much. Continue watching. Because we're just starting as, like me and Katrina, we're just starting as partners as well. I'm the one all about checklists, all about lists, tables, calendars, schedules.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like if we would not separate responsibilities, I would be not understanding where we are. No matter how good our friendship is, still when we are doing this as a, like we're trying to make it as a project in order for it to work, we need to, as you mentioned, communicate our responsibilities. But just to me, the best communication would be talking about this and then writing it down. So whenever I wake up at night, I know, okay, this is what I have to worry about. This other stuff, I know my partner will do for me. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and the split was still quite organic. It's not that we were, debating who is doing what, but we started first was just an idea, right? And then I was doing this, Daria was doing that, and we were like, okay, so you're actually good at like certain things, and I'm better like in others. Like for instance, I love doing like Instagram and like content. I don't have a lot of time for this, but I love it, and like it
Wow.
brings me joy.
Watching her reels, so don't blame on me.
It's beautiful.
Responsibility.
I'm the one who is editing it, so if you don't
Yeah.
like editing, that's me.
We found what is strong assets I have and Daria's strong, and then we combined it and we figured out that actually it works together. And then at some point, because I already have an experience with a different partner that I worked with on a completely different project, and there were some things that I know that if I do partnership over again, then for sure I need to avoid like certain things, or like we have to split responsibilities right away, even though it's organic and we have already decided that I'm looking over, for instance, Instagram and Daria is looking over YouTube. Still, we have to put it on a paper kind of, and then I know that if something goes wrong, like I know that Daria is taking care of it, and like if I don't have enough time, I can ask her. So I think like the main thing that I want to say is that in partnership, for me, there are three main things that everyone should keep on their mind when you start or like in the middle of the partnership. So first, divide those responsibilities. Second is to know what's going to happen if someone is sick or abruptly left, like to a different country, because we all immigrants here and we have to travel sometimes. And like, God forbid something happens. I want to know how the stuff on Daria's end works, because if something like she just travels, for vacation, and like she don't want to be bothered like with a lot of stuff. She still, I'm sure she will still do something, but again,
You wish.
but still like I want to know like what things I have to take care. Or for instance, if I like to take care of my baby, I want to make sure that she knows where to post and where to download something and save it and put it back. And then the third thing that I wanted to highlight is you always have to have the exit plan, because whenever everything is good everyone is happy, you don't have to divide anything, and you don't have to worry about like how it's going to end. So at this point, it's actually the best idea to at least have a conversation. I'm not saying just put it like sign a contract, but at least have a conversation like what's going to happen. Because Daria mentioned that we have nothing to divide
To
yet.
divide,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
right
there's
now, yeah.
nothing
This
to
is
worry
why
about.
everyone's happy, because we
Yeah.
have nothing to divide. But once you have,
Yeah, but at some point we had some assets with my former partner and we mutually agreed on how to split. And it actually was like mutual agreement. We were happy. The partnership was great, but it's just I came to a different point of my life and she came to a different point of my life that we had to part ways. And then it's actually good that we found a way to separate. But now I want to know for sure, like from the beginning, how it's gonna end, because we had this conversation at the end, and it was like, do I buy out
Yeah.
your share? Do you buy out my share? Like
What do we
how this
do?
works? Yeah, and again, you don't want to get stuck like with a third party. If for instance, you have a business, right? You have a corporation, and then you're like, okay, I want to get out, and then you're just selling it on the market. I don't want to
Yeah.
get stuck like with a third party. So
Definitely.
you have to have this conversation that if you decide to exit, I want you to make sure that you offer me like this share first instead of, going and selling it. Like, but I mean, I'm talking about like larger businesses, but still you have to keep in mind how to part ways, even like with your friends and family, because we were like so close.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's a tricky one. I actually was going to ask about it because it's very common when partners create something. It's a mutual effort, mutual energy, but then the direction where to take it from. Let's say this is the initial stage, but then you're on a next stage. And I find myself in a next stage where there's already new decisions have to be made. I don't know what to do. This is my first time being in a situation where there, for example, abundance of clients, which we all want. It's fantastic, but then I'm like, hey, I don't know, do I go left or right? And my partner is seeing completely different story. We would with my husband is actually tricky, but he's always been working for corporations. He's always had his career on the side, and just as of last 6 months, we are full time working together, and he's much happier, healthier. Like he's feeling great because what happened that he basically combined two jobs at the same time for an opportunity of having to fall back on something else. So the partners would have different situations in their moment in life, kids, anything. It also can change. So actually, it's a great point to discuss because we talked with my husband about like, what do you see in the next 3 years? What do you see in the next 5 years? Because I made my peace with understanding that even though I have a partner, I'm still fully in. Like I'm not 50% in. I'm fully in. There's my name on it. It's my corporation. It's on my name. So regardless of having him there, like doing it all, putting his full-time hours or not, what do I want from this? Do I want to continue? Do I want to maybe look for somebody else? Do I want to look for other employees and
Right,
probably,
exactly.
yeah. And also just probably this checking in moments are great. And yeah, I guess I'm coming home with so many notes what to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, Marcus.
Yeah.
how do you not bring the business to your family life? I feel like this is what we're really like interested in, because I realized from what we were talking before, it's still your business because your face is on it. It's your license. So it's probably like you have more responsibility.
Yeah, I would be the only owner of my corporation.
Yeah.
But actually, because I've been in this kind of area a bit earlier with students coming to study and hoping to stay, I actually had another corporation that we set up together. So we have legally we have two companies, and that's how it is. It's easier for us. It's more of a technicality that there are two companies. We consider it still one business. They are
Yeah.
interconnected, but it's mostly it's his name on it and it's his part. But what's happening right now, it's more of a subsidiary of the main immigration flow. So I would not, I don't even promote or don't even talk about this yet because just so many things on my plate. But if somebody says, hey, I actually want to study, I would be like, oh, talk to Marcos because they would, him and our team would guide you through that. In this sense, we kind of like divided legally
Yeah.
a little bit, But absolutely, it's not like it's 50-50 in such a sense. It is, as I am giving 100% of my time, and it's my experience is very different than my partner's experience. In a way, it's possible to kind of, for me to go and take a day off and just like sleep, I don't know, and for him to handle a few things. But some things are completely unique to each other. Same with me. I don't think if I would be able to take as many clients, as much of even doing my blog, which is fun. I love like taking pictures or things, like some thoughts. Like I always have ideas what to talk about. I wouldn't be able to do this unless he came up with some systems of like bookings and how things are. So yeah, he
Like
would be
automating,
more,
What about family dinner? Like you
Oh.
have work and like you work together
Yeah.
at home and then you have family dinner. So would you talk about business or you have pause and you're like, no, we did not discuss this.
It's 5:01.
Yeah, like after 5, we don't talk about clients or their problems or whatever.
At first, my husband would love it. He's a person of structure, so that's where we clash a lot. But naturally, we have these work hours, like so let's say from 9 to 5, we work.
Right.
It's funny because I am mostly the same person, but my husband would switch to like a monster, and he would be like very adamant and very focused and like asking questions. So there's like a work mode and home mode for him. So he has to switch. I don't really switch much. What's funny that during those dinners, if something's bad, we don't want to talk about it. But if
Right.
it's something exciting, somebody just got approved permanent residency
Okay,
in
yeah,
Canada.
that's
It was like celebrated.
Celebrated.
Yeah.
Or you just grow, or you just kind of like talk. I talk to some people more and he talks to some people more, and you still like root for them or feel like, oh, this case been like so long for no reasons. And so some things you just can't help it to share. I wouldn't say there is a balance. There is no balance in my life at least. But again, for me, it was not so abnormal. I'm like, well, growing up, my parents would talk about a lot about work, and they would be conversations, there would be fights, there would be celebrations as well. And I was like, I am never gonna have this in my life. I'm never gonna work with my husband.
And you have exactly
And
the
I
same.
have, yeah. So yeah, I think Christina, your guest on this podcast, she posted something recently about actually following steps of one
Of
of
the
your
father?
parents.
Oh,
Yeah, so I follow steps of my mom for sure. I am aware of that. Yeah, it's a long answer to the fact that I actually don't believe like it's possible to not bring work home. Just seeing from friends or just family, any relationships, if something happens at work, exciting or upsetting, we come home and we talk about it. It's very natural to like that some work affects life at
Right.
home, or at home something happens great or not so much or just exciting, and this affects pretty much how I feel at work as well. So it's a constant conversation at home for us, because now we have also a sister, and she would be also excited, or she's like very like you guys, like she's very organized, and she'd be like, oh, there's something I have this reminder, and we're having literal family dinner. There's more family. There's more of his family here, and we'll be like,
Not right
Oh.
now, please.
yeah.
But to be honest, it's great that it works for you. Like I am grateful that you shared this experience, so we know it actually could work for some people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't like talk about work at home.
Yeah.
Like,
And also, what we do, it was funny. I think my therapist actually said that it's like a consent relationships at evenings or on the weekends. We receive like, you remembered about something and start talking. And then it's like, oh, can I talk about it? Like, can I bring up work? Or I remember something, but it's not work. I just want to share. So this would be like a constant back and forth. It's not perfect. Sometimes I'm on a beautiful walk with a coffee. The sun is shining, and my husband's just starting to really bring up a lot of uncomfortable conversations too. I'm also grateful for actually speaking English with my husband, because it helps me to kind of structure my thoughts a little bit better. And yeah, so it works for us now after all this over communication.
thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Do you mind if I ask you to sum up what we talked about today?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I would like to be an example, or just to share that it could be work in different ways for anybody. If it doesn't work for somebody else, doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. I'm a strong believer in the vision and in knowing what is right for you exactly. We grow up with the different role models, and if there are anyone who is doing what you would like to do, just get to know them, get to really try and communicate, try to set up the ways that would really fit into your life, your family. I believe in being able to be life partners, love partners and business partners with my husband, and it all might not work for somebody else, but just trying. And at this season, at this moment of life, I believe it works. Hopefully, it works for some time
No,
longer.
Yeah, for sure.
And we have something little for you.
Oh my god!
This is a little something
What?
from us.
I'm gonna open immediately.
Okay. It's a little card for you.
Thank you so much for taking the time
Of course.
and coming in and sharing your experience. It was really helpful for sure for many women who are on a on a fence.
Like,
So
or
should they
transition, like, yeah.
should they start
Yeah.
a business, or should they start a partnership? So it's for sure it's an inspiration. Thank you so
Oh
much.
my gosh! Thank you so much. Yes.
Let's make it.
Yay.